Here with her response and some news to all of it, Human Rights Campaign President Kelley Robinson. So curious what you think of what's happening and what you think it means.
Look, these are short-sighted decisions. The Human Rights Campaign Foundation has been working for over 25 years in partnerships with companies across this country to make sure that they have best-in-class benefits for LGBTQ plus workers, to ensure that they're reducing the instances of harassment and discrimination in the workplace, to make sure that they are showing up for a community that has $1.4 trillion of buying power and represents 30% of Generation Z. Because by doing that, they are doing work not only to support the future of the workforce and the consumer base, but also to support their bottom line. So what we're seeing from these companies is short-sighted, and it's a wrong decision for businesses. That's why today we are announcing a 25-point deduction to the Corporate Equality Index scores for those companies that have rolled back their commitments to our communities. It's important that we have accountability here and that employees and consumers alike and shareholders too get to see the impact of these decisions on these companies.
So, Kelley, what do you think is happening? I mean, do you think it's just become politicized, and so some of the leaders of the companies that I just mentioned are on one political side of the aisle? Do you think that there is a customer-facing issue where actually there are people who will buy products or not buy products based on some of these policies, or at least what their perception of these companies are?
You know, I think that we're not telling the whole story here. Sure, there are a handful of companies that are making these poor, short-sighted decisions. But at the end of the day, in the 2025 CEI that will come out in early next year, we have over 1,400 companies participating, representing over 21 million employees across this country. That is the highest participation in our Corporate Equality Index that we have ever had. So while you may see Ford backing away, you have every other major auto manufacturer in this country that's participating in the CEI, from Chevy to Dodge to Subaru. So what I want to make clear is that this is not where the majority of the companies are. And it's not just out of the kindness of their hearts. It's because they know that this is what the workforce and consumers demand. Look, employees are 4.5 times more likely to want to work at a company that is explicit in their support for the LGBTQ plus community. Consumers are 2 times more likely to want to buy from brands that support the community. This is, bottom line, the best thing to do for businesses. And that's why I think that we're seeing so much energy from employees, from consumers, and from shareholders starting to push back on these decisions that these companies have made.
Kelley, let me ask you about the Supreme Court decision as it relates to affirmative action at universities and how you think that relates to corporate America and whether you think that's impacted any of these decisions.
Look, there's no denying that there is a tension in the business community right now related to the political nature of some of these issues that are popping up. And unfortunately, it's nothing new. The same sort of narratives that we saw coming out of the Supreme Court are mirroring the horrific anti-LGBTQ plus policies that we've seen in hundreds of bills in states across this country. But at the end of the day, when I think about the work of the Corporate Equality Index, it is about trust and it's about partnership with businesses to make workplaces as inclusive as possible for LGBTQ plus people. I mean, we're talking about health care benefits to ensure that people have all the opportunities to create their family, regardless of your sexual orientation, things like IVF and adoption benefits. We're talking about, before Bostock, working with companies to reduce discrimination in the workplace. This is not political. This is about people. It's about employees, it's about their consumers, and it's about the future of business. The reason that a lot of companies started to do DEI work was a risk mitigation tactic. There are financial and employment risks to having toxic workplaces. The CEI is a tool that we've used in partnership to help companies get better, to be their best selves, to get the best results from their employees and the highest outcomes from their consumers. That work is going to continue because over 1,400 companies, as I've said, understand the value in it.